Hello, this is Todd Shank of Premier FPL. Coming to you bringing the Game Week 7 FPL tips. Um, so, I guess I'll start out by reviewing last week. As you can see, I have my scores up for last week. Defense didn't do so great. Davis won in just the single point. Dawson um, 0 points despite playing the 90 minutes. The 2-0 loss to Arsenal plus a yellow card really wiped him out for me. Um, excuse me, Dunk with the 6 points was a really nice boost. And then Jack Stevens, who has not played in the last 2 weeks, looks like dead weight right now, especially with Virgil van Dijk coming back. Um, my big problem, I had debated putting in Gray for Carroll, and at the last minute decided to go with Carroll. I thought that Swansea would do a little bit better against Watford, but ultimately it didn't really work out too well for me. So, left 8 points on the bench there. Had really hoped that maybe Davis wouldn't play or Carroll wouldn't play or somebody like that and get a sub in, but that didn't really work out. Anyway, so that did drop me, despite having 56 points under the average. I usually try to shoot for being just above the average, and the last couple of weeks I've been under the average. So game week 5 and game week 6 have been under the average, which I really don't like to do that. Last week's Aguero assist and goal, many people captaining him. I think there were probably several that had triple captains. The problem with the early season is a lot of people are using their chips early to get these huge points. I don't like to do that. I like to save mine for later on and just try to rack up consistent points early on in the season. So I'm still, overall rank 1.5 million isn't too bad. Listening to a lot of the other FPL pundits out there, there are quite a few that are even lower than that or higher, whichever way you want to look at it. Anyway, so moving on to this week. So far, I haven't made any changes yet. I do have, let's see if we go to my transfers here, I do have 2 transfers to make. And that is something that I'm definitely going to use both of them. I've thought about taking a hit, but I'm not so sure I want to do that, mostly because, as you can see here, the next week of fixtures is coming up October 14th because of another international break. Really get sick of those. Finally get into the swing of things, and then bam, hit with the internationals. I'm not a fan of international soccer anyways, so having that thrown in the middle of the season just really sucks. So looking over my team, I really do want to get rid of Carroll. Carroll, Stevens, they're both pretty much dead weight right now. Stevens, he will have a net value for me because of starting out at 4.5, moving up that 0.3 million. So if I get rid of him now, we'll be making that little bit of extra money in the bank on him. Carroll, he's become dead weight mostly because 2-3 points, not really getting any goals or assists. He's kind of become the assist to the assister sort of player that doesn't really rack up points in the official game. If you're playing something like you want to do Taga, he's not a bad pickup for a draft team, depending on what you are, depending on what scoring they use. So, yeah, that leaves me with a bit of a conundrum as far as the midfield and my defense goes, where I'd almost have to take a hit. Mostly because the ones that I'm thinking about bringing in are someone like a Jamie Vardy or a Alvaro Morata, and that has become one of the in things to do is to go with the 3 big forwards. You can do it. You can swap around, make room to have you know, one of either, Lukaku, Kane, Aguero, Vardy, Morata. You can pretty much have three of any of those combinations if you really want to make room for them. It usually means that you're going to be going without someone like an Ericsson, um, Mkhitaryan, Salah, David Silva. You could probably fit a David Silva in there, but you're kind of lose out in your midfield, and you do want to look at keeping your defense pretty low as well. Probably not going to be able to afford Azpilicueta or Alonso, but the other thing is you really need to do a wild card to be able to fit all of those guys in there. Um, so for this weekend, if we're looking at the fixtures here, um, before I move on, actually, wanted to talk about some of the injuries here. Jamie Vardy is listed as a late fitness test. As you can see here on PremierInjuries.com, Ben Dinnery does a great job with his injury reports. So definitely check that out before match time, before you set your team. But Jamie Vardy should be playing. I know there's listed as a late fitness test, but most of what I've heard is that he should be able to play. The big one here is Sergio Aguero. Um, Injured in an accident just yesterday, and he's listed at 25%, currently being assessed. So that's one you definitely want to keep an eye on. Watch out for see what happens later today, Friday, as well as in the evening. Um, some of the other big injuries, Steve Mounier, I know several people have him as a differential, it's a lower end forward there, 50%. Ruben Loftus-Cheek just coming out with his injury this week, so puts him on the bench along with Zaha, ruled out there. David Luiz with his suspension from last weekend. The other one that some people may have been bringing is Tomer Hemed, having scored the goal last week. He is ruled out because of his suspension. For Arsenal, you got Danny Welbeck, and I don't know how many people have a Welby, but Welbeck probably will not be playing this weekend. Tom Heaton, actually, that is one you definitely want to look at. He is out, so make sure that he is not on your team. He's been a big player for a lot of people, but definitely want to make sure that you're dropping him. Not really a lot going on with Liverpool. For United, Fellaini looks like he probably will not play. Possible that he could be in there. The other one is Anthony Martial, as well as Phil Jones. Jones listed at 50%. He may or may not play. Some of these things, it's hard to know how honest Mourinho's being with his injury assessments and whether these guys are actually going to make it onto the team or not. So those are kind of some of the big ones. Actually, a couple here at Stoke, if anybody has Bruno Martins Indy or Kevin Wimmer, most likely will not be playing. And Tottenham, Ericsson missed out on a Champions League match midweek, but should be playing this weekend. Serge Aurier is suspended, and yeah, that's right. Watford, Nathaniel Chalobah is out. Looks like he is out for the season, so definitely want to be dropping him. The one that might be returning is Michael Antonio. So that could be a big one, as well as Manuel Lanzini. Both were big point scorers last year, so them coming back, that could be a pretty big one, especially playing Swansea. You know, either one of them could be getting points. I would say Antonio is definitely more of the risk there. No need to rush him back, but he could come in off the bench, or he could even play, part of the game. The problem is whether he gets taken off before 60 minutes. All right, so looking over the forwards, so let's list this by forwards here. Aguero at the top yet again. He has definitely become FPL gold yet again. So issue here, even the official FPL has him listed as an unknown return date, so who knows if he's actually going to be playing anytime soon. So for me, I'd say it's hard for me to really recommend having him come into your team, considering how expensive he is. 11.7, same price as Lukaku. Lukaku is, playing Crystal Palace this weekend, so I'm definitely not moving away from Lukaku. Uh, Kane still highest um, highest forward right now, and has some good fixtures coming up. So no reason to be dropping either one of them. I know Spurs are playing away to Huddersfield. Huddersfield have been decent this year defensively, but I mean Hurricane's just been on fire. So for me, it is a matter of who I'm going to pick. Lukaku against Crystal Palace for the captain, or I mean he's also at home, so I think I am leaning towards Lukaku as my captain for this week. Uh, Basically keeping it the same with Kane as my vice captain. But I am looking to probably try to make some room to bring in Jamie Vardy. It's going to be a little bit tricky. I think I can kind of get away with my defense the way it is. Leave in Dunk, um, probably Davis and Dawson as well. Go with I think I'm going to try to shoot for a 3-4-3 setup. It's going to be tough. Might still have to take a hit, mostly because dropping Gray and Willian, um, bringing in Jamie Vardy at 8.5. That only leaves me at 4.8 for another midfielder, and finding a midfielder who is at 4.8, that's not easy. Uh, so anyway, so moving on to midfielders. Eriksen's still at the top there. Playing against Huddersfield, I'm definitely going to keep him in my team. Not planning to move away from him. I do want to keep Mkhitaryan. He's still providing assists, scoring goals. I do want to make sure that I'm looking ahead at the upcoming fixtures. So let's go ahead and take a look at what the fixture tracker says here at Fantasy Football 24/7. So fantasyfootball247.co.uk, great place to go for additional tips, and I love their fixture tracker. Gives you a good layout of what's coming up. I like how they show you the breakdown. For this one, they have their rotation of who to look for as far as bringing in, like who do you want to rotate through. So definitely want to have a plan coming up ahead. It's tough for me because as a United supporter, I've decided this year I really want to stay away from City and Liverpool players. For most FPL managers out there, I am recommending you definitely want to have a plan to bring in at least Jesus, if not Jesus and Aguero. It is possible to put them both in. You might want to stick with Jesus at this time. The tough call here is Sterling or Sané. They seem to be doing some team sharing there. But both are getting goals. They're similar to Martial and Rashford with United. But Mohamed Salah, big pickup there. So I'd recommend looking at trying to make room for David Silva, Salah. Or if you want to go with the big three, the AKL of Aguero, Kane, Lukaku, that might be something to look at after the international break to see how Aguero is looking then. Or you want to bring in Morata as well. I actually don't have a problem bringing in Chelsea players or Arsenal players. So Arsenal, so tough with them. They have a good set of fixtures coming up, but Lacazette, you could make room for him, but they've been so hit or miss this year. It's hard for me to really recommend bringing them in. But United players, City players, Liverpool players, look at stacking them as well as Spurs. They all have great fixtures coming up. If you're looking at some of the mid-range teams, Everton, again, hard to really recommend bringing anybody in from Everton. I know that their list is green here, but they don't look like a team that is going to be winning anytime soon. See how they do against Burnley, see how they do against Brighton, and then kind of go from there. If you want to take a risk, I would say Everton are definitely a risk to look at. Um, Rotating in some of the Watford players might be a good idea. Same thing with West Ham. I think West Ham is a team that will probably start to pick up some points here in a little bit, as well as Southampton. Newcastle, they have Liverpool at home this weekend. Rafa Benitez, I'm sure he'll be wanting to put a very tactical team. In my predictions earlier this week, I did put them at I believe I put them at a 2-2 um, for the week. I'm going to pull up my predictions for the week. I do need to change that. So yeah, I did predict a 2-2 draw in that match. It's hard to see Liverpool not scoring at this point. Um, anyway, so if you're looking at defenders, bring up my defenders list here. Valencia has still been pulling in points, but he should be getting more points considering how many crosses he's getting in. I don't know if the crosses aren't good enough. The guys just aren't getting on the end of it, but I know a lot of these guys, a lot of people are looking at the wing backs this year, but the other thing to look at are how many central defenders are getting points this season. Um, got so like Lascelles, Schindler here, even Otamendi, Jones, Bailly, all here at the top. A lot of guys getting clean sheets, but also picking up bonus points. A lot of these big guys are getting on the end of set pieces, so um, Schindler here might be a good pick. Low as well, 4.5, 4.6, just to kind of fill in gaps here. And Huddersfield, they've been solid defensively. Look at all of these sixes here for Chris Lowe. All of them based on clean sheets. So definitely watch out for those matchups. Huddersfield, after this week, they have Swansea away, but then after that, some tough fixtures coming up against Manchester United and Liverpool. So it might be a good time to move away from Huddersfield at this point. Anyway, Davis. So planning ahead for my wild card here, I will probably keep in the likes of Dunk, maybe even Knowlton, just because that's so hard playing ahead. Swansea, I would like to see them doing better. I think they have a team that can play better, but I don't know what's going on that they're just not doing it this year. Watford defenders this year have been doing well. So like I've said before, I really like to go with, I guess, the pound shop defenders, where try to save money in the defense so I can plug it into my forward line here. So after the break, I might look at doing something like Lukaku, Kane, Morata, or Lukaku, Kane, and Vardy. Vardy has a good set of fixtures coming up here. Same thing, definitely same thing for Morata. He has really turned it on this year, shown that he can do it in the Premier League so far. So after this weekend, looks like a good time to bring him in as well. It's just too bad you can't have four forwards. Definitely going to be dropping Carroll. I think there are better midfielders out there that are in that kind of mid-tier, in the low fives range, that I can fill in. Redmond, still not sure that I want to keep him in there. Has just the one assist so far. Bonus points, not really doing it for me either. So I don't know. Probably try to move away from Carroll and Redmond, even move away from Willian. But I do want to try to keep Eriksson, maybe even Mkhitaryan, mostly because I do like having United players in there. Might even try to pick up Jones for my wild card. But I do like my Elliott and Pickford rotation there in defense, but might even go with like an Elliott and Lossell. Maybe. He's still dependent on the clean sheet, so have to look at some of the underlying statistics there to see if I really want to go with him. So that kind of wraps up my tips for this week. I'd say the biggest tips here, um, I'd say it's more personal preference whether you want to go with Lukaku or Kane. I'm going with Lukaku. Kane would be a really good pick too. Um, if you're looking for midfielders to bring in, I mean, there's a reason that Salah, Silva, Eriksson, Mkhitaryan, there's a reason they're all in the top four for scoring for midfielders. Bringing in any one of them, it's definitely a good shout. Uh, I I would say to steer away from Chelsea and midfield and Man City if you are trying to make transfers this week, especially with Aguero out injured. Um, you could look at someone like a Lacazette playing against Brighton this week. Um, he's looked good so far, picking up 30 points already. Firmino, I did hear some people talking about Firmino playing better with Mane in the team. Mane is returning, so um, having a Mane Firmino setup definitely viable. For me, I'm definitely going with Vardy. He's a lower price point there. Gives me a little bit of extra room to play with, and um, definitely has the good fixtures here. Bournemouth away, West Brom home, Swansea away, Everton home, Stoke away. He's already proven that he is a goal scorer in the Premier League and has really started to turn it on in the last couple of weeks. So I'm definitely going with Vardy there. And then in defense, defense is always a tricky one. I think I did predict Stoke City and Southampton for clean sheets, Manchester United for a clean sheet, Tottenham. I do think that they will pick up a clean sheet against Huddersfield. Um, West Ham and Swansea. That's a tough one where it really could go either way. Swansea could score goals in that one. Um, despite I know I predicted a 2-0, but I'm not sold on that. I could also see that one going 0-0. Um, Arsenal, I just don't trust their defense enough to pick them for a clean sheet, but they're another one that could very easily come up with a clean sheet. And Everton and Burnley, that's one that also could go 0-0. So if you want to take a chance on any of those, you could definitely do that. Anyways, so that kind of wraps us up for the Week 7 FPL tips. Feel free to leave your comments below. You can hit me up on Twitter at Todd_Shank, as well as following me on Premier FPL on Twitter. Definitely subscribe to my YouTube channel here. I'll be trying to put out videos every week with my FPL predictions. And then you can also find my weekly Premier League predictions at premiersoccerchat.com. And look out for more Premier FPL hints and tips. So, as always, wish you good luck and have fun.